forth, we have another amazing episode. I am Dev, he, him pronouns. I am with the wonderful Rachel.
Cornwell.
I keep wanting to say Cromwell, which is like an old school English style, like aristocrat kind of thing, which is not what you are.
Well, and where I grew up, the main street was Cornwall Street. So nobody ever got it right.
Oh man, so that's super confusing.
Yeah.
How would you like to introduce yourself?
Rachel Cornwell, fire systems technician.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you've been coming here for a while.
When I was a kid, but it would always be for, a week or less at a time. And most of my memories here exist with my family and working in that unit. So being here as a staff member is a completely different community to be a part of. Part of being up here and part of the silliness of it all reminds you that there's all this space to be a kid again. Particularly as someone that came up here so much as a kid, there's also that full circle feeling of returning to those memories. Things just get so goofy when you're like living and working and doing the whole thing with people. Like, they will see all your weird sides.
Totally.
So you gotta just embrace it.
Why don't you give me a word and a feeling, or an object and a feeling?
Bowl of spaghetti.
A bowl of spaghetti. Amazing.
Let's go with confusion.
Confusion. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna start this tale where we know each other. Anything can happen, and there are no wrong answers.
Beautiful.
Cool. Margot, because that is your name in this wonderful tale. I'm so glad that we started that Italian restaurant where when you eat the spaghetti that we serve, it just creates mass confusion for people. Let's take this one step further. They actually turn into a little kid. So they go backwards in time, they eat the spaghetti, they go backwards in time into their like 5-year-old selves, and then there's just like mass chaos. What happens next?
Yes. That special sauce that we put on our spaghetti. A secret well hidden through the generations.
It starts with 24 different herbs, and also there's this very specific spell that you use, and the spell is essentially an R&B track. R&B has been part of your family for a long time.
Oh yes, we have a very intense fascination with R&B. Because it's a very special ceremony in which we welcome our friends and family into this knowledge base.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a secret society in some ways.
It totally is.
Because, we can't have everybody just spaghetti brained.
Yeah, it's very intentional who we feed the secret sauce to.
Well, yeah, you have to sign a couple of papers when you enter into the restaurant. It's kind of just a liability thing. Getting insurance for this restaurant is a crazy process.
That's where I come into the situation is I'm a lawyer. And so I help the family business from being sued, from all these crazy situations that happen. And so we're actually helping people discover their own silliness. Because, if people get too serious in their lives, then they get the sauce. So, and so we have criteria for that.
It's inner child work.
Inner child work.
Exactly.
Inner child sauce, That's
inner child sauce. We serve some Kool-Aid with it too.
Right, totally, exactly. Yeah, just to keep, make people feel safe.
Exactly. Feel a part of a community,
Right, totally, yeah, exactly. Inclusivity is very important.
Exactly.
Excellent, cool. I think that's all needs to be said about that.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. Inner Child Sauce, brought to you by Rachel and Deb. Excellent.
I think I need some of that.
Right, exactly. That's the thing, witchy brews, we gotta bring that stuff back.
I agree. What kind of tea is it?
This is called Shung Puer, and it is the queen of all teas. The king and queen of all teas, actually. It makes you feel great about yourself.
Well, I'm all for that.
I know, right? What's better than that?
I think I've heard of this tea once before. I went to school in Boulder. And
Oh, awesome.
so they have a big tea house there.
I've heard there's a good scene, yes.
Dushanbe. Yeah, and so they're like tea sisters with this place, I think in Nepal. A huge variety of tea, but I never actually tried the pu'er, is that how you say it?
Yes, so it's P-U-E-R-H. But yeah, that actually makes me want to go to Nepal now. And speaking of which, where do you want to go into the world?
So many places.
So many places.
El Camino in Spain is one that's on my list that I think would be really incredible.
So I did 10 days of the Camino.
Oh, really?
From the most northern tip of France and Spain. And then it just kind of goes down into the Basque Country.
Oh, it's beautiful over there.
It was mind-blowing. It was in between two things that I had to do in that area, so I was like, might as well pilgrimage, because that's the coolest thing ever. And so I had a very, very genuine experience with that. So highly recommend.
Did you do it alone or?
No, I did it with a friend. We both really wanted to see Radiohead in Barcelona. And so we both went there. But before then, we did that leg of the journey of the Camino. And have you seen the movie The Way by any chance?
I haven't actually seen it, and I would really love to.
It's actually really heartwarming, and I highly recommend it. I think it would also inspire you to maybe, I don't know, purchase that plane ticket and get on over there. Let's talk about fire systems. What connects you to fire? The element of fire. What makes you just like bombastic about fire?
Well, you know, something that Jeff Pierce said is that all firefighters might be secret pyromaniacs.
I think there's some beautiful truth there.
They've channeled the energy properly. So maybe that's a little piece of me.
Totally. Well, do you have a first memory of fire, or like a fascination with fire?
Oh, that's a good question. I mostly just remember campfires as a kid, a lot of camping with the family, but also when I was in 3rd grade, we moved into a new house. And my dad's an architect, so this was like his lifelong dream to be able to design his own house.
Beautiful.
So one of the things that him and my mom really wanted as an element to the house is to have a real beautiful like stone fireplace that you put actual logs in, which now that I think about it is probably in part due to all their times up at Holden too.
Totally.
And having this like cabin-like feeling up here as well. Yeah, so I remember that was also a big part of like moving in, and we would always just sit around the fireplace.
Congregate around, totally.
Yeah, so that was always the place to be. So we're a fire family, maybe.
A fire family, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just such a cool title, you know, fire family.
Yeah, if you trace back the lineage of Cornwell, you'll find.
Ah, excellent.
Actually translates into.
Wait, what does it translate to do?
Oh, I have no idea. We were in England one time,
wonderful.
and we were like going around this roundabout, and my mom was driving, and my dad was giving directions at this point, and we would just get so lost all the time. And so on these big roundabouts, and we see this exit for Cornwell.
Destiny,
we must go.
What did you find in this mystical land of Cornwell?
The mystical land of Cornwell. You drive down a little road, and then another little smaller road, and then it becomes dirt, and then it's like a church and 3 homes. It's like this tiny, tiny little place.
What's more mystical than that?
Exactly, yeah.
I bet like in like the basement, one of the homes was this like magical fairyland, you know, or...
I'm sure, yeah. So that's the only origin of Cornwell that I know.
That's amazing. I love it. I love getting lost stories.
Getting lost is a good thing.
Getting lost is amazing.
Go out into the woods.
Are you a big hiker around here?
I am, yeah. I'm very excited for more of the trails to clear and to explore more. Yeah, so far some of the snowshoeing and things that I've done have just been wonderful. We did a snowshoe out to Big Creek.
Okay.
And Paul, if you've talked much with him,
Paul and I are super buddies at this point.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. Let's just do a shout out to Paul.
Yes. Big shout out to Paulie T.
There we go. Actually, maybe that'll be a tradition in these podcast series. We'll just a small shout out to Paul, like randomly.
I like that. But Julia and I ran into him in the dining hall right before we left, and it's one of his favorite snowshoes.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh, it's so magical." And I asked him what about it he thought was magical, and he said, "Go figure it out."
Just go.
But it was the perfect advice, because then you weren't looking for specific things. You were just in awe of the thing.
Absolutely.
And it was, it was wonderful.
You know, they always make you figure it out for yourself, you know, and all these, like, these journeys, these epiphanies.
They never give you the answers.
I know, right? It's like, why? I just want a couple straightforward answers.
Yeah. At least give me a hint, maybe?
Right, totally, yeah. Just like a sound or whatever.
Yeah. I see you have the Essential Neruda, and
That's, yes.
the same book sitting in my room.
Well. There we go.
Yeah.
Should we just read a poem?
I think so.
I think so too. Dun, 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 dun. Actually, it's typically how I love to start these types of sessions is usually with a reading. So why don't you pick a random page
Alright.
and see what comes about.
Okay. This is Fable of the Mermaid and the Drunks. All these gentlemen were there inside when she entered, utterly naked. They had been drinking and began to spit at her. Recently come from the river, she understood nothing. She was a mermaid who had lost her way. The taunts flowed over her glistening flesh. Obscenities drenched her golden breasts. A stranger to tears, she did not weep. A stranger to clothes, she did not dress. They pocked her with cigarette ends and with burnt corks rolled on the tavern floor with laughter. She did not speak, since speech was unknown to her. Her eyes were the color of faraway love. Her arms were matching topazes. Her lips moved soundlessly in coral light. And ultimately, she left by that door. Scarcely had she entered the river than she was cleansed, gleaming once more like a white stone in the rain. And without a backward look, she swam once more, swam towards nothingness, swam to her dying.
Wow. Excellent. Wonderfully read, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, what a fable.
The phrase, the faraway love, really hit home. And even like the last part, I had a dream, I think like 3 days ago, that was really vivid, where I ended up on a boat and I knew that I could not get back to land. Like the boat was just going into the ocean, into kind of the vastness, and then that was that.
That last line, the swam to her dying.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of maybe a month ago when there was one of the Sunday Eucharist services and Pastor Mark was talking about Eden. And I'm not particularly religious, but I really loved the way he framed the story of Adam and Eve when they take a bite of the apple and learn about their own mortality. They learn that they will die at some point, not that they will die right then.
Right.
You know, and this sense of like losing innocence or ego death or, you know, some sort of knowledge that is the path that you take at some point.
Right.
And that's the journey that we're all on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it reminded me of that.
And certainly in both cases, in the Christian story and in this poem, there's almost a bullying of the feminine.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that she leaves that situation in some sense just completely unaffected by the taunts. It's like she's this wall of eternal beauty, and you know, it reminds me of this writing prompt. I had this class in college. It was called Constructions of Knowledge, so we would get random different writing prompts each week.
Yeah.
And this one was, pretend you are an alien and you get plopped into your childhood home at 7 a.m. Describe what's happening. And so in some ways it's like this evolved being where these things don't matter, but it also in some ways it's like this like newborn child of like unawareness and lack of knowledge about the world that we exist in.
And belonging.
Yeah, totally.
Where do you feel like you've belonged the most? I'll go first because something just popped into my head.
Yeah.
So this was actually a physical place. During my master's program, I got to study within the painted caves of the Dordogne region in south central France. And being in those caves, I've never felt as much peace as I had in them. I think it was the resonance, and that's why I think one of the reasons why I love caves so much is that it amplifies the human voice, and so no matter what you say, whether it's words or sounds, like we would actually sing in these caves, and we even brought a cellist with us, which is just over the top, but so beautiful.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. We just have these really beautiful sonorous experiences in these caves. Does that conjure anything up for you?
The first thing that came to mind as you were telling me about the caves, last summer I went on a little kayaking trip around the San Juan Islands.
Beautiful.
So me and one of my friends, we just rented kayaks from Lopez Island and
That's great.
did a little loop around Shaw. And we camped on this tiny little island right off the coast from where the main ferry terminal is.
Yeah.
And it was just us, and then there was a group of kids from a camp that were on the island as well, but they were like down by the beach, and we had a little campsite up top. So it's just the two of us, and we were having such a fun, magical time because it wasn't the best weather. It was kind of rainy, but it just made for this like misty, beautiful kayak where you really feel like you're just in the water. And I thought it was perfect for what it was. And yeah, so we stayed on this island, and the clouds had started to clear a little bit. We were cooking our mashed potatoes for dinner. We had like a box of wine up there. And so we were just sitting out on this little rock outcropping. And it felt like a moment like you would experience up here. We were like running around with blankets as capes and like singing songs and just being like absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, that was just a really special evening of like, oh, this is what joy feels like. This is what friendship feels like.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
As you said that, I was imagining like that would be the perfect context for that mermaid to like show up.
Yeah.
Much better situation with you guys than at the tavern.
Yeah. Hopefully we would be a little nicer.
This has been delightful.
This has been delightful.
Oh, mermaid.
Siren song.
Ooh. Your call has been lost.
Through the bar cries and brawls.